We're recording.
Hey everybody, welcome to week 7, actually, or what we're going to do is rather we're going to review week 7 work, where we're getting ready for week 8 starting tomorrow, right?
Yep.
So let's go ahead and hi, I'm Bobby Borg, and
I'm Michael Ames.
yeah, how you guys doing? I hope you guys are enjoying the class so far.
Yeah, and hope you enjoyed the midterm and feel that you're getting everything and everything's starting to come together and settle into your brain.
Absolutely. I mean, the scores looked good, you guys. And I hope you're enjoying the videos that Michael and I created for you guys. Not the intro videos, but the actual, produced videos. So I hope you guys are watching those. All right, so I'm clicking on week 7 homework right now. So I'm just going to go through this with you guys. So number 1 is readings. So you had to reread Business Basics for Musicians, the end of chapter 17, pages 195 to 188, and 18, 194 to 202. So hopefully you guys did that. Then number 2, you were supposed to read the video lectures and watch the videos. And then number 3, you were supposed to do the discussion questions, and you were supposed to comment on one of the student discussion tab. And the questions were, I'll read the first one, Michael can read the second one, and then I'll read the third one. So letter A would be, a stream is considered to be part of what kind of income source? A mechanical, performance, sync, print, or a combination? And what are the various rates to the publisher? So I said that this is a little tricky and complex, and there is no short answer, but search the HFA, Harry Fox website, and any other legitimate source, and then provide a link to the rates that you find. So essentially, Michael and I in the video talk about something that I think is very, very useful. And that is what, actually I kind of got this off of Neil Gillis, which is now with Roundhill Music. It's a friend of Michael and I's, right, Michael?
Yep, absolutely. He's great.
And Neil Gillis says that there's like 4 food groups of music publishing, and that always kind of stuck with me. There's mechanical royalties for the reproduction of your music. There is, print, obviously. There is synchronization when your music is used in film and television. And then there's also performance when your music is performed. And whenever a new technology comes out, everybody freaks out and they're like, oh my God, what is this and what kind of royalty it gets? But in essence, if you use the 4 food groups of music and you just ask yourselves the very basic questions. Number 1, is there a reproduction? Is there a performance? Is there a synchronization or a visual image attached? And is there sort of, a print? So let's go ahead and use that sort of psychology or philosophy or whatever and go ahead and answer this question. So A, a stream is considered to be what kind of income source? And the answer to that is, it is when it is actually used in interactive sites such as Spotify, it's actually a mechanical royalty. Because it is, Michael, you can help me out on this, but essentially what happens with a stream when it's interactive is that it's being downloaded on a server somewhere, so which means it's being copied, which means it's being reproduced, which means there's a mechanical royalty. And then when that actually plays, it's generating a performance royalty. So a stream in interactive sites can be both a mechanical and a performance. And of course, when it's just played, such as, for example, on Pandora, then it essentially a stream is just a performance, let's just say, right?
Yeah, and if I can jump in there too, something.
And of course, we have to talk about YouTube as well. Yeah.
The Pandora and Sirius stuff, when it's just like radio, it's the non-interactive thing. So you're totally right. It's 100% performance. And you're totally right on the mechanical thing about how it gets reproduced on a server. But what I want everyone to kind of realize too is that, and I'm pretty sure Spotify does this. Not quite sure if Apple does, but offline streaming. So like, when you pay for the subscription, you're able to do a certain amount of offline streaming. And the only way you're able to do that is that you've actually been able to buffer and download sort of that stream to your device. So it's actually not only reproduced on the server that sent you the song, but it's ending up being cached on your actual device to be able to do the offline streaming. And that's yet another reproduction and a reason why it's got to be a mechanical.
Okay, good. And then with YouTube as well, when we have streaming video, so then there is a synchronization component and a performance royalty as well, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so we could have been a little bit more specific in this question, admittedly, because when we said a stream, we could have said specifically what kind of stream we were talking about. So hopefully that didn't throw you guys off too badly. But in any case, Michael, can you tackle the issue with regards to the rates? Because it's a little complex with regards to the actual formula. Do you have that that actual one sheet, or can you access that real quick? Because that's pretty thorough.
Now, are you meaning like the Harry Fox one sheet, or you meaning something different?
I think it was the one that was I might have it right here actually. The one that was by the National Publishers Association. They actually had the breakdown, like, you know, I might have it somewhere real quick.
All right. Well, what I can still do generally is like, because some of the posts, I've scrolled through them, and some actually post to, you know, the Harry Fox rate chart. But where things do get really confusing in this world, and then like Pablo and Regenia actually kind of put in their posting a screenshot of sort of the different ways of rates, is that you've kind of had all these different offerings that, depending on what it was, is it portable, you know, is it bundled, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but really the headline sort of rate that everyone can kind of just keep in mind is that for interactive streaming, prior to the increase in the rate last year, the rate had been 10.5% of the service's revenue. So, and that 10.5% was including both the performance and the mechanical combined. And the way the services dealt with that is they have deals, blanket deals with ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, and whatever those deals state, that percentage gets deducted from the 10.5, and the balance of the 10.5 is what gets paid as the mechanical. And then the rate increase that happened last year, you know, things are increasing every year up to 15.1% over 5 years from the current 10.5, though there's a legal challenge to that right now, which it would be going down a rabbit hole to get into it. But, you know, if you think of 10.5 and then now it goes up to, I think it's 11.4, you know, every year there's an increase. So that's a good thing, because songwriters and publishers will get paid more per stream.
Right. Okay. So
we have Edwina, or, you know, it's Yuna.
Okay. I'm glad that we have someone with us. So just to hang in
Edwina. Sorry, it is Edwina. My bad. Sorry, Edwina.
If you have any questions for us, we'll take your questions in a few seconds.
Hello.
So going through this.
Hey there, you got us, but you're on. We heard you.
Oh, my mic is working?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Hey there. All right. Sorry, Bobby. I interrupted you just because I heard you had gone on.
Okay. So welcome. We're glad to have you. We're just going to go ahead and keep on going through the sort of the class, and then we'll take your questions. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right, so cool. So then B is a digital download is considered to be part of what kind of income source: mechanical, performance, sync, or print? And what is the rate to the publisher? So again, let's go back to that sort of that Gillis 4 food group thing. And, you know, a digital download is obviously a reproduction. So that, again, is going to be a mechanical royalty. Um, One thing I want to be clear, though, about is that the rate is not subject to what's called a controlled composition clause, which does exist in your recording agreements. I think that was part, Michael, do you remember, is that part of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act where, I believe it is, right? Of
That was it. Yep.
1995, I think, Digital Millennium, Digital Millennium. Sorry. But, the current statutory mechanical license rate is 9.1 cents per record made and distributed, and that applies to your digital downloads. And of course, globally, digital downloads are decreasing, but nonetheless, they still exist. So it's important to know about that. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Michael?
No, really, and kind of we're kind of seeing the slow death of the digital download. So, there's no controlled comp, but more and more folks are doing the streaming, like we just covered in the question to number one. So I think it's even next year that iTunes is going to stop doing downloads altogether. So the next year or two, I think is going to be really interesting. But yet I've also read somewhere that, that was a streaming service. There's the whole Neil Young and high resolution audio. There's like different movement in high resolution streaming, but that's getting off on a different subject. Sorry.
Well, since we're on this subject, or I do want to ask you what your thoughts are about this, because I'm hearing some controversy as to iTunes announcement or fake news announcement. Like now it's like I'm questioning it now at this point, because there hasn't been an official statement, I don't believe, from Apple that they're closing down iTunes, but yet it's talked about. So what's going on?
Honestly, no, and you're right. And I actually should have clarified that when I mentioned that we all think it's next year. It is still all conjecture. It's kind of been rumor. There's been no official statement yet, but I mean, I kind of get it. If everyone, frankly, I forget what the exact numbers of Apple Music are as far as subscribers, but it's certainly over 50 million at this point. So as more and more are going to streaming, frankly, from Apple's point of view, they can save on server space, by not having to sort of deal with all the downloads. And though I'm not, familiar with all the technological sort of delivery methods that have to exist on servers to be able to, serve up all those downloads, it's got to certainly be much easier to be dealing with streaming than downloads. And frankly, that may save Apple money and certainly server space. So,
right.
But it's kind of like everything. It's a business. If people aren't buying it, like, why offer it? There comes a point where you just got to cut the rope. And Apple is certainly notorious for, sort of all the flack that they get every time there's a new, particularly with the iPhone, like when they got rid of the headphone jack and like different stuff, like they tend to like to sort of do things and then everyone squawks. And then, 3 months later, everyone's used to it and you don't hear about it again.
Mm-hmm. Right. Statistics show that, physical sales still make up 25% of the total income brought in from the music industry. One could argue that vinyl is what pushes that up, and it would be far lower if it wasn't for vinyl, but because digital downloads are going down, of course. But, there's still a little bit of meat on the bone, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're going to hang on to it for a little while until it completely dies out, perhaps, right?
No, it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah. All right, so moving on then, a ringtone is considered, ringtones, I remember them? So a ringtone is considered to be part of what kind of income source? So you guys on 1, 2, 3, ready? Let's all answer together. 1, 2, 3, right?
Mechanical.
Because there's a reproduction there. And what is the rate to the publisher? So this is pretty straightforward, right, Michael? The rate to the publisher currently is, do you have that handy?
Yeah, it's 24 cents.
24 cents.
So like you said, it's not as important. Ringtones used to be a pretty healthy source of income for us publishers, but it's basically dying.
Right. Okay, so that's pretty, I mean, the homework was pretty straightforward, you guys. I mean, it simply was, an issue of reading and then going to the websites and just like pretty much cutting and pasting information and just posting it. So we reviewed all of your posts, and essentially, for the most part, everybody was, they did what you had to do. Just one quick question one thought that I wanted to brought up to you guys is that we do these classes obviously like before the actual due dates. So, I mean, in other words, technically homework isn't due until 12 o'clock, tonight, or 11:59 tonight. So in essence, you can sit here and you can watch these videos and then go, ooh, cool, I got all the answers, and then type and post. But obviously, we know that you guys are in class to learn and not to do stuff like that. Another point we wanted to make is that it's really important that you guys continue to work in teams and not all, start to post individually. So that's very important for a number of reasons. Number one, if you are going to work in the music industry, you're going to work in teams with other people. And admittedly, teamwork and partnerships can be very difficult, but not when two people make an effort to make it work. The problem is when one person just refuses to make it work. You just have to try to make it work, right? So you guys got to come together and make sure to do that. If there are any problems, you have to reach out to Michael and I, and we'll get on the phone with you guys and try to talk to you about that, okay? And then as artists, you're probably going to be working in bands, or you're going to be co-writing songs with people. So those are more projects than long-term relationships, but nonetheless, you still have to have a certain amount of cooperation to make the relationship successful. So please try to work with us on this, and we're totally confident that you guys aren't going to have any problems. Everything's been going so good so far, and we're almost there, right? We're over the halfway mark. So anything you want to add, Michael?
Yeah, the only thing I did want to add too is, what I've noticed sometimes on this partnership front is that, especially when any of you are responding, because part of what we're doing is just wanting to make sure everyone is engaging in both posting as well as responding to the other posts, is that when you're responding, try to always remember that you're posting your partner's name as well, because there's still, everything's been fine on the posting part, but on the responding part, there are still some that are just mentioning their own names and not their partners. So even though I know it's tough when in an online class that you're alone and you're in front of your computer and you're doing stuff, please kind of always imagine that when you're doing things, you've got your partner and to post with them as well.
And one final thing, suppose Michael and I are partners, and Michael cannot hear from me or does not hear from me all week, and I do not respond to him. He is not responsible for doing a post and putting my name on there. What he needs to do is make the post and put the name, Bobby was unavailable this week. We all have to own up. We all get busy. Life gets in the way, and we totally understand that. But if somebody isn't doing work and you're doing all the work, we need to know about that, okay? So you're not telling on anyone. The person that is, disappearing knows they're disappearing, right? It's no secret. They know what they're doing. So just call them out, just say, hey, this person wasn't around this week, so I'm posting without them. I have no idea where they are. That's not your fault, as long as you make a legitimate, effort to get in touch with the person. If you call them, you text them once at like 2 a.m, I mean, that's not fair, obviously. You need to make an effort. So, enough of that. You guys got it, right? We're confident you guys are rocking and rolling.
For sure.
So one last thing is to make sure, even though the projects are due in the future, the reason why we got you guys to think about them last week, or this week rather, week 7, I think it was, or week 6, is that we want you guys to start thinking about your projects and to start working on them. So we might not mention them, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't start working on them, okay? Mm-hmm. And Michael and I went through all of your ideas and read them and made comments about your projects, confirming them and maybe giving you suggestions to maybe narrow the focus a little bit. So please make sure to check your discussions as well. Okay. Any other things?
No, I think that kind of gets us to the end. So maybe Edwina, since you were kind enough to join us, you feel free to unmute yourself, or if you have any questions or anything you'd want to go over on any subject. That's why we kind of want to offer these up every Wednesday, to know that we're available for whatever you need.
Oh, I had some questions, but then I forgot them, so I'll ask another one.
Okay.
I read over the response for at least my topic. Me and Erica, we chose to particularly talk about the many like unclaimed monies, orphan accounts. I just didn't understand. I just wanted to clarify the response. Was our topic too like broad, or did you want us to limit it?
Well, I attached the PDF.
Yes, I printed it out.
So,
read it.
So you can see that the issue of sort of orphan accounts goes into many different directions.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that PDF talks about different areas about, so I just wanted you guys to kind of define specifically what it was you were referring to. Like, in other words, you tell me, like, what specifically did you want to talk about orphan accounts?
I'm so new to this. I wanted to talk about, or at least we wanted to talk about orphan accounts in a general sense. Like, what are they? How big is the issue? What have people done in the past to kind of address the issue, and maybe some recommendations based off our research, what we would think is the best, what are some solutions moving forward, and how to address all these existing orphan accounts. I don't know if that's too big of a topic, though.
Well, just out of curiosity, are you prepared to sort of tell us briefly what an orphan account is to you?
I haven't like revisited what I read last week, but at least my general understanding is that I guess sometimes if you're working with someone and then you register, let's say, a publishing company, and maybe the publishing company doesn't exist anymore, the money goes nowhere, and then they don't know I guess the person paying out the money doesn't know who the next person in line is to receive the monies. Like, should it be the writer? Should it be at least one of the person that was under the publishing company as opposed to the other person? So I still need to work on it a bit.
Okay. Michael, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I guess where I don't know, Edwina, where do you recall where you kind of read the term orphan accounts? Because the only thing that, because Bobby was pointing out with his PDF about orphan works, sometimes even the term orphan works has a few broad implications. And it seems to me, with what you posted, or what you're kind of intending in the way you just described it, is that it's really more about kind of unclaimed money is sort of the issue. I think what you're meaning with orphan accounts is sort of like there may be accounts and they either don't know who to pay, or like you were just referencing, a publishing company maybe went out of business or something, and there may be money that used to be paid out to that company, but it doesn't exist, or maybe it got sold, and then the service may not know who to pay it to, and all of these services end up having a pretty huge amount of money that they're sitting on because they don't know where to pay it. So I think that's more what you're meaning. So it's almost like maybe the topic could be more about sort of unclaimed funds, because as you were some of what you sort of read about, and like I talked about when I did a separate video this week on the MMA, the Music Modernization Act, is that the biggest component of that is this MLC, Mechanical Licensing Collective, that the whole point of that collective is to try to cut down on all this unclaimed money. And we don't really want there to be any money unclaimed. Everyone should get paid what they're supposed to. But you guys are absolutely right that it's a significant problem. But it's a problem for different for different reasons. Some of them are the reasons that you stated, that a company may go out of business or whatever, but a lot of times this unclaimed money is because the service knows what recording they streamed, but they don't know what song or composition to match it up to. So it's a lot of data issues of, making the connection between the recording and the composition is sometimes the hardest thing to do.
Is it because someone didn't input the data correctly? Is that why?
Yeah, no, that's actually a very astute observation. Forgive me, Edwina, because I don't think you're an artist, or are you?
I'm not.
Okay,
I would like to explore that route one day.
Yeah. Well, have you ever had to upload something to if you wanted to release a record, have you ever had to go through the steps to release a record?
No, this is all very new to me.
Okay.
I'm just touching it surface for the first time with this class.
Gotcha. I'll give you one specific example that kind of touches upon the exact thing that you just said about the data. And that is, one of the biggest problems we have right now is we've got all these independent artists who use TuneCore and CD Baby and companies such as these, DistroKid. I mean, there's lots of different distributors. But when you go to distribute a record, you not only upload the audio, but you need to provide to them in their online forms certain information. Obviously, you got to give them the basics like the name of the artist, the name of the record, the name of the record label, etc. But as you go through that process, one of the fields that they offer is songwriters. And a lot of times, someone may leave that. It's not a required field. So sometimes the songwriter field gets left blank, or maybe instead of listing out all the songwriters, they just put in the artist name again. And maybe it's a band and it's comprised of 4 people, but only 3 of the 4 actually wrote the song. You get this situation where the streaming service is generating money off of streams, and the person who uploaded the record actually hasn't given them information on who the songwriters are. So the service doesn't even know where to match that song. Because what if the song is, I Hate You, and there's 100 songs called I Hate You. The service doesn't know which of the 100 songs to pay it to. And if the person had included the songwriter information when they uploaded it, the service would have an easier time matching it up to the right song. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So is that saying, since that field is optional, are you saying that that field should not be optional? I mean, is that a possible solution?
My opinion is that it shouldn't be optional. I mean, sorry, it should not be optional. It should be required, and everyone should be being instructed as they fill out all this data that it's like, hey, whether you're the songwriter or you've covered someone else's song, please make sure to list the songwriter names in this field because it will help the songwriter get paid. Keep it simple and straightforward, but you got to provide the info. Otherwise, it's almost impossible to figure out whose song it is.
So to narrow your focus, what you could do is you could talk about the importance of metadata and filling in and making sure that you fill in the metadata on the artists and the song, etc., properly, and maybe just even pick a service before uploading to blank service. And maybe you can conduct some research and you can find out about the amount of unpaid royalties that is supposed to go out to artists but has not yet, because they don't know where to send it. Or you can even do another thing. Maybe you can even do sound exchange. There's still a lot of people today that don't know what a sound exchange royalty is, and they don't understand the difference between a copyright for your song and a copyright for your master recording. Maybe you can do it specifically on all of the, for example, when I spoke with a representative at Sound Exchange, they told me you'd be surprised how much money we're just sitting on because there's a lot of people that have not yet registered with us and they don't even know that we exist, and they're trying to change that. So maybe you can do maybe your report specifically on Sound Exchange and the amount of people that still don't know about it and the amount of royalties that still haven't gone out to people because people don't even know exactly what they do or how to register for them. So the suggestion that Michael and I were making in our comments to you were maybe just narrow the focus a little bit, because you can go into different directions with this.
Okay. I need to sit down and kind of refine it, because that was just kind of a broad thought when I did it that week. I was going to do more research this week and narrow it. So
yeah, that's okay.
I think that would give a good idea.
No, but I mean, I think it's Bobby just, very rightfully was wanting to make sure you're zeroing in and made the suggestions that he did, because, it is a really, really important topic, and you can probably find a ton of stuff on the internet and articles about it, because it's one of the biggest controversies in our business, because there are a lot of people that sort of feel like, the large companies that have the biggest amount of market share, they feel that all of this unclaimed money is going to kind of go to the bigger companies, who are then just going to put it in their own pocket and not pay it to anybody. And though that's not true, I understand the concern, but it's the bigger issue of like, let's just make sure the data's right, and teach everybody that the data should be what it is, and then everyone will get paid more the way they should.
Michael, would you say that the concept of orphan works or counts, or let's just use orphan, could apply to black box monies? Could we say that black box money is a type of orphan sort of?
Yeah, it is kind of an orphan. The thing that gets a little ambiguous, like when you talk about orphan works, is that there have been situations sometimes in the United States and sometimes in other countries where, say, like a song fell in at the time a song lost copyright protection, it falls into the public domain, and then maybe the government of that country changes the copyright law and increases the term of copyright, but yet you have these works that didn't get the benefit of that, and everyone feeling that they should have. It's just that the law changed after they went public domain, so those are kind of considered these orphan works in some descriptions, because it feels like, oh, it's unfair that these orphan, that's why they get the term orphan. Like, they lost the rights to earn money anymore, and that's not fair just because the song went into the public domain 6 months before the law was passed. Like, you need to go retroactively to let them, so there's different kinds of orphans.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that gets confusing about that term.
And that's why we emailed you that PDF to kind of help you figure out what you wanted to talk about. So in closing to this question, my suggestion also would be to define that a little bit with your partner, and to also make sure that when you present your report, that you make it very clear from what perspective you're talking about. So in other words, you can paint the scenario. Suppose that you're working at a company, and that company has X amount of royalties to pay out, but they have no idea where to pay it. Set up sort of a scenario that way so that people can kind of understand from what perspective you're talking about and how it applies to them. Okay? All right.
Oh, also, I sent an email. I don't know if you, to you guys, I don't know if you got it. It's about
go ahead and ask the question. I can look.
Scheduling. Because I'm going out of the country for about 1.5 weeks, and I'm working closely with my partner Erica to get the timeline right, and I'm really trying to do my part of the final project, get my info stuff on time. But in case I might need an extension, but I don't predict it. So right now, what was my email? That's what my email was about. I'm not sure if you got it though.
I am not seeing your email. When did you send it?
I sent it on, I think, Sunday. If you didn't get it, that means it might not have ever gone through because of connection. I can resend it again though.
Yeah, and make sure you send it to both of us. um, that would be great.
Okay, I'll do it again because I put the both of you on the email, but I guess it didn't go through.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look for it. I can't immediately see it at the moment. But yeah, I mean, of course, the good news with an online class is that you have, you can kind of work from anywhere. But I understand, that I think you were saying when you're going out of the country, is it for work or class? I'm trying to remember what you had just said.
It's I signed up to do a program, so like the whole schedule is going to be busy. So
Gotcha.
What you're saying is while you're gone, you're not going to really have time to work on this project, right? So,
yeah, during that 1.5 week.
okay. So tell me specifically, when are you leaving? Like,
I'm leaving on June 1st and I'm coming back on June 12th.
have you figured out what weeks those are? It's between week, 9 and 10?
It's let's see. Yes, between I think it's week 9 and week 10.
Okay, so it's between week 9 and 10. So,
Yeah.
and right now we're entering week 8, and the project is due week 10, right? Or is it week 11 that it's due?
Week 11.
Well, actually, there's the two projects, one due in week 10 and the other in week 11.
The week 10 project, Erica and I are working on it. Erica I think she's in your class, Bobby. She's going to talk to you about it tomorrow. So.
Well, the week 10 project is a lot simpler. It's pretty much a song pitch, so that's not really that much difficult. You guys are creating.
I'm not super concerned about that one.
Okay.
Yeah, because I guess I'm more concerned with the topic I just talked to you about because that requires a little more research. That's all.
Okay.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, on the week 10 project, are you guys going to do like one of Erica's songs or something?
She chose a musician that was her friend.
Okay, I remember. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's usually not that difficult to do. So you guys could probably knock that one out. So I would suggest you do that before you leave.
Yes.
And then as far as this week 11 one, we're just entering week 8 right now. So I would suggest that you get together with Erica and for 1 week, you guys kind of hit it hard. And maybe what you could do is you can have an agreement between each other that you do all the research maybe, and you give her sort of a basic outline. And then her job while you're gone will be to, organize the material and put together the PowerPoint. That way
sounds good.
You guys are working together.
That was my plan.
Yeah, we're delegating the workload. So, you tell her you got the first half covered with doing research, and then she'll be responsible for the second half, like maybe organizing it, like skimming it down. And that way you guys can stay on a schedule. And here's why I'm telling you this. Rather than just say, yeah, sure, go ahead, take an extra week or something. One of the disadvantages of doing that are then you're not going to get any feedback or critique from your other.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like if you put it up a week later, a week and a half later, it's like, okay, sure, we can say, yeah, fine, why not? But no one's going to read it.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to participate in that. So that would be my suggestion. Okay. And beyond, if you have any problems, you can reach out. It's not like we're unreasonable or anything. But
that's good.
Yeah, we do kind of try to push you guys to stay on schedule and things like that, though. Okay.
Okay.
What else? Anything else?
Anything?
I don't. I had one back then, but I don't remember. I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but I remember this. I think is it this week or next week's? I forgot. But it was about making your own self-publishing company.
Okay.
So when I was reading the text, I feel like a lot of it is for. I'm not sure. I feel like a lot of it was for those who are already songwriters. Is it possible to make a self-publishing company for someone who almost, you could say, barely has a background, but is interested in it? Because I don't come from the music industry at all. I come from legal tech, but I really enjoy reading about it. I find music publishing quite interesting. Was wondering if I could even start something one day.
Well, keep in mind that in order to start a publishing company, you should have songs to publish, obviously, right?
I see.
So those don't necessarily they don't necessarily have to be your songs that you write yourself. They could actually be songs that you decide to pitch for other people. And in other words, well, I mean, this is what Michael essentially does. So I'm going to take over. But, you know, Michael was an artist and a songwriter, and then created a publishing company to help other songwriters essentially get their music placed. And so he started his own publishing company to do that. So essentially you're talking about sort of Michael's model, essentially. You know, right, Michael? I mean,
yeah, no, I mean, you're right. I mean, the stuff that I do, you know, at Penn, I'm not the songwriter. I mean, yes, I have a background in it, but I mean, the reality is I chose my path that I'm a publisher and I don't really compose anymore. So I either, you know, administer someone else's work, or in a few small cases, I actually co-publish. So I co-own some things. So you, Edwina, you can do something similar. You know, you can, you know, it's sort of like if you ever find an artist or a songwriter that you feel strongly about, that you want to spend time trying to do what you can to advance their career and therefore make them and you money, you know, you absolutely can start your own company and get involved with them, and you structure your business relationship with that songwriter in whichever way you guys feel comfortable doing it. And then you dig right in and hope for the best, and hopefully there's money there that you get to split with each other.
Interesting.
So the things that we say in the book to do, you would be doing on behalf of the people you represent.
I see.
Yeah.
And then finding finding that like songwriter, artist, it just takes time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's a number of factors too. I mean, you also have to understand the mediums in which you're going to be pitching music. So for example, you need to understand like what it takes to enhance a particular scene in film, or what works in television, what works in video games, what works, you know, in, you know, music that is played in restaurants and in retail stores and malls and things like that. You have to have an understanding, obviously, of music and what works and what doesn't, so that when you hear an artist, you go, wow, that artist would really be great for film and TV, or this artist would be really great for being an artist and being, you know, signed to a record label or something. I mean, and some of this is subjective, but, you know, I think it's really interesting when we do the song pitch to hear pretty much what we're going to say about it and what also other people are going to say about it, because it is subjective to some point, but there is things that work and don't work, you know. So for example, one music publisher, Michael, you can, you know, surely have tons of stories with this where maybe you felt, you know, one publisher turned this one artist down maybe, and then you go, well, wait a minute, you know, I think there's something there, and maybe you decided to work with this artist and ended up getting placements for them, right? So it's not like a given for everybody that, you know, this is good. You know, there's a little bit of push and pull here in this. Yes?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So, I mean, and right, Edwina, you're right. That's this week. Week 8 is publishing companies and stuff. So, you know, you make sure you sort of, you know, read through it, understand it, and then maybe next Wednesday, when we're kind of doing this live session like we try to do every week, where we'll be reviewing the week 8 stuff, we can certainly, if you have any additional questions next Wednesday, happy to have you join us, and we can cover them then.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Anything else?
Not for today.
All right. We're excited you joined us. Sometimes we get some of the students who join, sometimes we don't.
I usually work until 7, but I got off a little early today, so.
Okay.
Perfect.
I hope that you have been watching the videos, even if
I have.
Awesome.
Okay, wonderful. All right, great. So we're going to sign out then, and we'll see you next week, okay? Or maybe we'll know you're there in spirit.
Oh, of course.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, everybody. So thanks very much. This week we have a little survey link that we asked you guys to click on and let us know how we're doing so that we can, improve. I mean, that's why we're here, obviously, to enrich your lives and your learning. Of course, keep in mind there's only so much that we can do, but we try to do the most we can for you. So hopefully you'll understand that when you're filling out the surveys. and I have a great week. Michael, anything that you want to add?
No, just great job, everyone. It's great to sort of see the hard work both on the midterms and as everybody posts, and it's cool to see the interaction amongst everybody, and that's kind of what we wanted. So that's great.
All right, thanks, you guys. We're going to click off on the recording, and Michael, if you can hang out for a sec, and so I'll see you guys later.
Bye, all. See you next week.
Take care.